sort of purpose of my book, what the real focal point of my book is. The 32 stories that I mentioned, the way that it's set up is that there is a critical analysis of all the behavior, because they're all my stories and I'm the protagonist in all of them. I experienced all of them firsthand. Each one of them contains a critical situation where either my life was at risk, someone else's life was at risk, there was a core value that was at stake, there was maybe a lot of money that was at stake. Whatever it was, there was a critical moment where I had to make a very important decision under pressure, which determined the outcome, so to speak, of one of these critical value items, whether it be a life or money or whatever it was. And there's a critical analysis of all the action, the behaviors, the emotions, the perceptions, the thoughts that were going on all through these stories. That again, just to reiterate, happen in a bunch of different roles in a bunch of different places around the world. The book is called The Superpower. And the superpower is the decision, or it's really the fusion of our decision and our execution of that decision in a critical moment, often under pressure, when there's very high value at stake. And everything we do beforehand in our lives that builds up to those moments, and obviously those moments are often unpredictable. We don't know when they're going to happen anytime. And everything we're doing in our life that builds up to when those moments actually happen funnels into our capability to make the best decision possible in that situation. And I define the best decision possible in that situation as the decision that meets the need of that moment. So obviously that the best decision depends on what a person is perceiving as the critical need of that moment. And then their ability to be able to execute that under one of 4 core capabilities that we've got, which is to listen, to think, to speak, or to act. So how we perceive the need in that critical moment, and then how capable we are to say or do or think or listen the way we need to make that decision real in the world and effective. That's the superpower. And I call it not a local superpower that's different between people. I call it the superpower because I see it as being a universal superpower that every single conscious human being possesses. That if we're all able to do this as much as we can, when it really counts in the critical conversations that we have, in the critical moments where we need to take action, when we really need to listen, when we really need to be quiet, when we really need to speak, when we really need to act, when we're able to do that, no matter where we are in the world, our age, our gender, our education, our childhood, our past experiences, our current job, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We all have these situations. And when we're able to do that, so that is when we become our best self, when we perform in the critical moments where great value is at stake. That's when we are our best. That's the best we can be. And that's what everyone wants at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to say and do and be exactly who they need to be in the moments when it really counts. So that's the superpower.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, because like that's the name of this podcast, is Top Performers Podcast. It's how we can strive to become top performers in our workplace and also in our lives. And what you're saying is decision making, having that backlog of subjective truths within us, things that we've learned in the world, is so critical so that we can go forward and crush it when we really need to, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I would identify the fundamental capability that we've got that sort of is at the core of all the other capabilities that we have as listening. I think listening is the most important thing that we need to do well, because listening, it helps us to develop within ourselves. We learn experientially. We take a whole bunch of stuff in. We try and understand. Things resonate with us, and we have to explore them. When someone says something, and it hits us in a certain way, either very positively, very negatively, we have to stop for a moment. We have to catch that trigger. We're listening, and we have to catch that trigger and ask ourselves, well, there's a truth in that. The fact that resonated with me is a truth. And I need to illuminate that truth. There's a reason that that meant something with me. So listening really grows us on the inside, grows our mind. It grows our ability to understand what's happening, what's happening around the world when we experience things. And it helps us to be able to engage dynamic situations in the way we need to. How do we know what the critical need of a moment is? Well, because we've been listening. We've been listening. We understand because we've heard things, we've understood things, we've seen things. And because we've had the clarity in that moment to be able to take that on board and process that raw material into something meaningful, that, we have an idea of what our goal needs to be. We know what we need to do in order to achieve that goal. And we have the ability to be able to do that. All those steps are branches that come out of how well in our life we've been listening to other people, listening to our environment, observing cause and effect in the world. But also the third aspect of listening, just which I didn't mention before, which I'll allude to now, listening to ourselves. And that's a really critical third aspect of listening. And that means that when an instinct is triggered, or we have a habit that we engage automatically without thinking, that's listening. Those are objective truths. An instinct, if we're walking down the street and we get an intuition or an instinct hits us that there's sudden danger, that's an objective truth. It came from inside us. It came from an unconscious place within us, or a subconscious place within us. And it rose up from that place into our conscious minds. It entered our conscious minds as the awareness of a danger. But we didn't consciously think there's a danger. That awareness came to us from a deeper place within us. That's an objective truth. That's a fact. It's the instinct that we caught in that moment is an objective truth that entered into our conscious mind now and is now a subjective truth within us. So what are we going to do about that? We caught the instinct, which came into our conscious mind that there's danger. And now in our subjective mind, we now think, oh, so there's danger. And now we start to work consciously. What's the danger? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What could it be? What am I going to do about that? That's all now subjective truth within us that we're processing. And we're going to come out with what we believe is going to be the need, meeting the need of the moment, the best decision for that situation that we're going to be able to execute. That's the goal. That's what we're aiming for.
It's all about meeting the need through listening, through taking in those triggers within us. We catch those triggers, and then we can come to that decision that we need to. I think that is so beautiful.